The dawn of the 14th century was a time of chaos and opportunity. In Anatolia, a land of shifting borders and fading empires, the once mighty Seljuk Sultanate was crumbling, leaving a power vacuum in its wake. From the chaos, dozens of small Turkish principalities, known as beyliks, emerged, each vying for dominance among them. Nestled in the town of S, near the Byzantine frontier, was a small, seemingly insignificant tribe led by a man named Osman. No one could have predicted that this minor chieftain would lay the foundation for one of the most powerful and enduring empires in world history, the Ottoman Empire. This is the story of Osman Gazi, the visionary warrior who turned a small band of frontier fighters into the seeds of a global power. Osman was born around the year 1258, the son of Ertuğrul Gazi, a respected tribal leader. He grew up in the harsh environment of the Anatolian frontier, a world defined by constant conflict and the warrior ethos of the Ghazis, holy warriors for Islam. From a young age, Osman was trained in horsemanship, archery, and swordsmanship, skills essential for survival and leadership. He inherited not just his father's title but also his strategic acumen and unwavering ambition. His early life was steeped in the traditions of his people, but his eyes were fixed on the weakening Byzantine lands to the west. He saw not just a threat, but an opportunity for expansion and glory. A famous story, a foundational myth of the Ottoman dynasty, speaks to Osman's destiny. It is said that while staying in the home of a holy man, Sheikh Kidabali, Osman had a powerful dream. In this dream, a moon rose from the sheikh's chest and entered his own. Then from his heart, a massive tree sprouted. Its branches grew so vast they covered the entire world, casting their shade over mountains, rivers, and cities. People from all nations gathered under its canopy. When Osman recounted the dream, Sheikh Kidabali interpreted it as a divine sign. He told Osman that God had granted him and his descendants a great empire, and he gave Osman his daughter's hand in marriage, solidifying a crucial alliance. This dream, whether real or a later invention, became a powerful symbol of Ottoman ambition, the idea of a divinely ordained mission to rule the world. For years, Osman and his fighters conducted raids into Byzantine territory, testing their defenses and building their strength. But these were just skirmishes. The turning point came in 1299, the year traditionally cited as the founding of the Ottoman state. Osman declared his independence from the weakening Seljuk Sultanate, transforming his small territory, or beylik, from a vassal state into a sovereign entity. This was a bold declaration. Osman was no longer just a tribal leader. He was now the founder of a new dynasty, a sultan in his own right. His capital was S, a small town, but his ambitions were anything but. With his newfound independence, Osman launched a more systematic campaign of conquest. His primary target was the Byzantine Empire. Unlike other beyliks that fought amongst themselves, Osman focused his Ghazi warriors on the infidel lands to the west. This strategy had a dual benefit. It fulfilled the religious duty of the Ghazis, attracting warriors from all over Anatolia to his banner, and it allowed him to expand his territory without getting bogged down in inter-Turkish conflicts. His forces were mobile, disciplined, and highly motivated. They were not a conventional army but a brotherhood of warriors united by faith, loyalty to Osman, and the promise of spoils. The first major prize was the fortress of Karakahizar. After a difficult siege, Osman's forces captured the strategic stronghold, giving them a crucial base of operations. The conquest was significant not just militarily but also symbolically. Osman converted the main church into a mosque, appointed a qadi or judge, and had the Friday sermon, the khutbah, read in his name. These were the acts of a sovereign ruler, establishing the legal and religious institutions of a new state. Karakahizar became the first real center of Ottoman administration, a testing ground for the governance that would later define the empire. From Karakahaiza, Osman's conquests continued. He laid siege to the great Byzantine cities of Nicaea and Prusa, modern-day Iznik and Bursa, but these were heavily fortified and beyond the capabilities of his tribal forces. Realizing a direct assault was too costly. Osman adopted a brilliant new strategy: the blockade. Instead of trying to storm the city walls, he built smaller forts or castra in the surrounding countryside, effectively cutting off the cities from supplies and reinforcements. This slow, suffocating strategy would eventually prove incredibly effective. One of the most important new settlements he established was Yeni, meaning new city. Located in a fertile plain, Yeni was established as the new Ottoman capital. It was strategically positioned to serve as a base for blockading the major Byzantine cities. This move from a nomadic encampment to a permanent, fortified capital marked another major step in the transition from a tribe to a state. It allowed for more organized administration, the collection of taxes, and the consolidation of power. Yeni became the true launching pad for the future Ottoman expansion into Bithynia. Osman's military genius was in his adaptability. He understood the limitations of his forces and developed tactics that played to their strengths. He was a master of ambush and guerrilla warfare, using the rugged terrain to his advantage. But he was also more than just a warrior. He was a charismatic leader who inspired fierce loyalty. The Ghazi spirit he fostered was a powerful unifying force. Men flocked to join him, drawn by his reputation for justice, bravery, and piety. He was known to share the spoils of war fairly and to protect the peasants, both Christian and Muslim, in the lands he conquered. This policy of tolerance encouraged many Byzantine subjects, who were oppressed by their own government's heavy taxes and religious disputes, to accept Ottoman rule peacefully. As his state grew, Osman began to establish the first elements of an administrative structure. He appointed governors for the conquered towns and fortresses, established a rudimentary tax system, and began to mint the first Ottoman coins, the ache. These were simple silver coins, but they were a powerful declaration of sovereignty and economic independence. The government was still very basic, relying heavily on tribal traditions and Islamic law. But the foundations were being laid for the complex bureaucracy that would one day run a vast empire. Osman, the tribal chieftain, was becoming a statesman. The climax of Osman's early military career came in 1302 at the Battle of Baphius. A large Byzantine army was sent from Constantinople to relieve the besieged city of Nicomedia and confront the growing Ottoman threat. Osman, with a much smaller force of around 5,000 light cavalry, met them near the coast. In a stunning victory, Osman's Ghazis outmaneuvered and routed the larger, more heavily armored Byzantine army. The Battle of Baphius was a monumental victory. It was the first major open-field battle between the Ottomans and the Byzantine Empire. It announced Osman's arrival as a major power in the region. His fame spread far and wide, and the trickle of Ghazi warriors joining him became a flood. In his later years, as his health began to fail, Osman turned his attention to securing the future of his dynasty. His lifelong dream was the conquest of Prusa or Bursa, a magnificent walled city that had resisted him for decades. Though he was too ill to lead the final assault himself, he entrusted the mission to his son and chosen heir, Orhan. From his deathbed in Osman could hear the reports of Orhan's progress. He had raised his son to be a warrior and a leader, instilling in him the same Ghazi spirit and strategic vision that had guided his own life. Osman Gazi died around 1326, just as the news of Bursa's fall reached him. According to legend, his final wish was to be buried in the newly conquered city. He had lived to see his small beylik triumph over its rivals and bring a great Byzantine city to its knees. He left his son, Orhan, not a tribe, but a functioning, expanding state with a disciplined army, a clear mission, and a strategic foothold for even greater conquests. Osman never wore a crown or sat on a golden throne. He remained at heart a frontier warrior, but through his vision, his courage, and his relentless determination, this humble tribal leader forged a dynasty that would change the course of world history. His legacy is not just in the lands he conquered, but in the spirit he created, the spirit of the Ottomans. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, please like this video, subscribe to our channel for more stories from history, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Let us know in the comments which historical figure you'd like to see us cover next. See you in the next one.